Hello, welcome to America's Heroes Group live stream digital media show. I am Jenn Wagman, founder, president, and host of the Generally Speaking Vets with Jenn podcast and America's Heroes Group partner. October is National Breast Cancer, Mental Health, Disability, and Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Today is October 30th, and my guest panelist tonight is Dr. Matthew Miller, Executive Director of the VA Office of Suicide Prevention. Our discussion tonight will touch on a variety of topics because, frankly, Dr. Miller's past trends, coping with the present, and trying to predict the future. What I mean by that is this. When the 2024 suicide report comes out later this year, the numbers the public will be digesting are numbers from 2022, 2 years ago, and at the heart of COVID. Dr. Miller's office coordinates VA programming, strategies, and key initiatives focusing not only on preventing veteran suicide with outreach and health services, but also research to try and understand potential behavioral or trauma exposure commonalities and the science involved in trying to predict at-risk individuals. Welcome, Dr. Miller, and thank you for joining me tonight. I know how busy you are, and I genuinely appreciate you taking the time to talk about the work and the work your office is doing. So I wanted to have you on the show because we're doing and that VA is doing in this realm, and I'm not so sure at large is things. And what is the biggest initiative that you are most proud of that is going on right now?
Well, thank you. Viewership, those who support the service members and the veterans that we all care so much about, particularly in the area of suicide prevention. So great opportunity to chat. And again, thank you for the opportunity. I'm excited about numerous aspects of what we're doing within VA suicide prevention. I got into this work in the first place, I'll say service above and beyond work, secondary to serving as a captain in the United States Air Force and a clinical psychologist. And in turn, losing one of my best friends who was a Marine Cobra pilot to suicide. That really caused me to see suicide and suicide prevention in the military and for veterans in a very different way, and to be called, I feel, then into this service presently. One veteran dying by suicide, as my own life and experience testifies to, is one too many. So we are 100% committed to lowering, if not eliminating, veteran suicide in significant ways. I think some new opportunities that we've been able to explore and develop in the last couple of years, it kind of parallels with sitting here and talking with you. I think that we've been able to increase our development and implementation of outreach efforts through media. For example, a few years ago, around the time of the annual report data that you talked about, 2021 and 2022, we forged a relationship with the Ad Council. And in so doing, we talked with veterans and focus groups and said, what do we really need to talk about to get the word out regarding veteran suicide prevention? What we heard from an overwhelming amount of the veterans that we talked with, and this resonated with me personally, was the importance of a message that speaks to not waiting for a crisis, reaching out for help, tapping into all the resources that are available to veterans prior to that crisis point. So
What was
that
the result
became,
of that campaign? What was that campaign? Can you?
yeah, that became our Don't Wait, Reach Out campaign.
Okay.
We last month, you talked about the month of October thematically, the month of September was Suicide Prevention Month. In our Don't Wait, Reach Out campaign, we were able to release some new public service announcements that were really focused on family members of veterans, talking about how much they respected, how much they admired veterans in their life who had reached out for help, who had reached out for resources prior to reaching a crisis point. We're also able to engage the participation of the duo War and Treaty to talk about in their own life and through their song 5 More Minutes the importance and value of reaching out for help, accepting help during times of need as veterans. So that's been exciting to watch that outreach campaign grow, to watch the amount of veterans who are aware of the campaign and then who are plugging into the resources grow and increase over the last couple of years.
How did the check a buddy? You had that campaign go this past month too. How did that go? Can you talk about
Yeah,
that?
so that's another area, Jen, where we've been. I think we've seen important developments, and that's working with veteran service organizations more closely. And I think a really good example of that is the Legion's Buddy Check Week. We had the Buddy Check Week Summit last week. And it was a really good opportunity to talk about the value of veteran to veteran connections within the picture overall of veteran suicide prevention. You know, one of the biggest risk factors we know, Jen, for veterans is isolation, feeling disconnected from others, feeling disconnected from purpose. And Buddy Check Week was a really good opportunity to provide a vehicle, a mechanism, a cue for people to reach out to at least 10 other veterans that they know in their life and reestablish connection, reestablish to each other that there's purpose, there's meaning, there is that connection in veterans' lives.
So Secretary McDonough yesterday at the press club when he was addressing everyone, he said that you don't have to wait. You don't have to. You can go to a VA medical center and ask for help. Can you talk about that? Make sure everybody understands that, because I know a lot of people have said to me, a lot of my clients have said, I can't just go, I can't get help. There isn't, and I know there's a wait for mental health professionals. That's a fact. But if you are in crisis, you go, you ask.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah, the secretary's been one of our, if not the biggest proponent of our message, don't wait, reach out. And I think what he has effectively messaged and what you're referencing is no matter where you're at in life, there's an opportunity to apply this principle and this challenge. If, for example, you're at a crisis point, you need help now. You're thinking about suicide. You're finding yourself entertaining what you would consider to be dark thoughts. We have opportunities. We have the Veterans Crisis Line. Pick up the phone, dial 988, press 1, and you're immediately connected into the Veterans Crisis Line 24/7, 365 days a year. If you don't want to say your name, if you don't want to identify yourself, you can start the conversation with Veterans Crisis Line and skip the name, skip the identification. Just let us into what's going on currently and what we can do to help and support. There's then new legislation as well that says you can go to any hospital, you can go to any urgent care, any emergency room, VA, non-VA, and if you're experiencing a suicide crisis, you can get that care for free. And you can get the follow-up care that comes with it, whether that be outpatient or inpatient care as well. If it's maybe at a little different point in the line, like maybe it's not emergency room, maybe you're not thinking it's veterans crisis line, but you want to be seen for mental health. You can go to your local VA. You can ask for what we call same day mental health access. You can say, I'd like to talk to somebody in mental health today. And then the wheels will be set in motion for individuals from the care team to talk with you, find out a little bit about what your needs are, and then get you set up accordingly from there. And then you go to the other side. Maybe you're not in an emergency. Maybe you're not at the point where you want to seek mental health services or medical services, but you're interested in resources. You can sit on your phone, you can sit on your computer, you can go to va.gov/reach, and you can search through all the resources we have that really focus on specific and relevant life issues, financial issues, relationship issues, job issues, mental health concerns, PTSD, all those sorts of things that veterans typically, commonly may face. You can find resources that are specifically tailored for those issues. So you take the whole continuum, and we have an application for you for Don't Wait, Reach Out.
That's wonderful. What about family members of veterans? You know, I think one of the when I founded Gen Vets, one of the main things that I was focused on, in particular, this last long war, as they call it now, saw so many more deployments, longer, not as long. You wouldn't be gone for a year or two, but these deployments of 3 months to 6 months, times 6 or 7, you know, really took their toll on the kids. Maybe it was one parent, maybe it was both parents interchangeably. And that saw an increase in mental health issues among the kids, among different spouses. How is VA handling that?
Yeah, I think, Jen, you're getting to a really important core, I think, truth about suicide prevention. We talk about there being 3 principles that underlie everything we do in VA suicide prevention. The three principles are: number 1, suicide is preventable. It's not inevitable. There are things that we can do to lower the risk for suicide. Number 2, we talk about the fact that we need to start seeing suicide prevention from a broader lens than just the clinical and just the individual. And then third, we say everyone has a role to play within that broader lens view. So what you're speaking to really ties together those 3 foundational truths, and that is there is a role to play for family members. There is a role to play for the community. And we're incorporating, I think, newer and broader ways to embody that. Take, for example, well, let's talk about the different things that a veteran could do to exemplify Don't Wait, Reach Out. And then let's talk about family applications to that. I talked about the Veterans Crisis Line. Family members can contact the Veterans Crisis Line by dialing 988, pressing 1, and asking us questions or sharing with us concerns about a veteran that they care about, that they love, and that they're concerned about. And we are prepared and able to talk through those types of calls and those types of concerns. we get them a lot every day. You talked then about the other end of the spectrum. We talked about going to va.gov/reach and looking for resources. There are resources specific to family members in the community at va.gov/reach. Practical resources like
That's for the family members,
for the family members,
okay.
like how to start a conversation, how to start a conversation around mental health, how to start a conversation around suicide, how to start a conversation around firearms and safe storage. Those are all resources that are available for family members.
What would you say if I were to tell you, if a veteran were to tell you, or the family member or a friend of a family, of, this is something that I faced and I had no idea what to do. So I'm imagining that there's someone else out there. I had a friend who was married to someone who had been deployed many, many times. I had no idea that she was as lost as she was. Hanging out, doing work with her one weekend, and over a period of time, maybe just had too much to drink. And the next thing I knew was just desperate and distraught over the amount of time that her husband had been deployed and the war and how bad it was. And then she was threatening to jump off
Yeah.
of something. I've never been more afraid of anything, or that it was actually going to happen. What to do next? Was this something that was just a product of having too much to drink? Do I tell her husband? Do I call someone at that moment? Do I let her go to sleep? What do you say at that point? What do you think what I should have done at that moment? Does that sound like a situation that, because I spoke to people after the fact, I can tell you what did happen, but it's not an uncommon thing, which was very sad for me to learn after the fact.
Not at all.
She's very okay now and sober, and actually helps with this organization, which is a wonderful thing. But also the impetus for wanting to do this, for wanting to have you on.
Yeah.
But what would you have done?
Well,
What would
first,
you have recommended to me, I should say?
I think that you've
I didn't do the right thing at the time.
well, she's alive.
Yeah.
And I think that you've exemplified those three core truths. It is preventable. There are things we can do, and everyone has a role to play. And that role is not necessarily to do it perfectly or just right, because there's not any human being who's going to pull that off. Look, if someone is not anxious, afraid, scared in a situation like the one that you described, I worry more about that person than I do about the person who is anxious and concerned and scared. I would say first step is normalize the fact that it's scary. It's scary to experience that type of situation. But second, amidst that, I would say talk directly. We know from all the research available that when you talk directly about scary things like suicide, you open the door for conversation, you open the door for healing. So if you then in that situation open the door by saying, are you thinking about ending your life? Are you thinking about suicide? Are you struggling with thoughts that are really concerning to you? When you say things like that and don't beat around the proverbial bush, you open the door, you make it a safe place and situation for the person to go to that scary place with you. We were talking about some of our media work and outreach work. One one area really touches upon this, and believe it or not, it's some work we did with Metallica, the rock group. They have a song that's called Screaming Suicide. And in the song, they're talking about how they experience the dark thoughts. They experience the lies that suicide may be telling them inside. And they want to hold it all in. They want to hold it down. They don't want to say the word suicide. But yet there's freedom and there's healing that comes when they say the word and let it out. And the song really kind of tracks that development, that progress in them as they're singing about this. We talked to Metallica after this song was released. They said, would you help us with our messaging? So now you can see on our website public service announcements from Metallica talking about the importance of don't wait, reach out. All that said to say, Jen, all of us have a tendency to kind of push that back down, push it down, push it down. But the more we can create an environment that makes it okay to talk about it, that makes it okay to reach out, we're going to help with healing. The third thing I would say is know that you always have resources at your back in that situation. Know that in that situation, Jen, you could grab your phone and you could dial 988, press 1, and you could say, let's talk together. Let's talk to the Veterans Crisis Line together, or let's talk to a crisis call center together if it's not a veteran. So a challenge would be from this saying, hey, let's all put 988, press 1, Veterans Crisis Line into our contacts if we're in that situation where we need a quick assist.
I didn't know that. It was 988. That's not 4 years ago. No, it's newer than that, right?
Yeah,
I know now, and I'm grateful now for it. So, but yeah, not 4 years ago.
I would have had to give you an 800 number 4 years ago. And that's why the switch was made to 988, and that occurred in 2022. It's a lot easier to say, hey, call 988, then press 1, than it is to say, call a 1-800 number.
Yeah. No, that it was actually a life-changing night, for sure. But it led to different things. But no, I really appreciate that. Another band, Metallica's one thing. Actually, I just went to a dinner party on Friday night, which was kind of fancy, but one of the ladies was wearing a Metallica t-shirt.
Nice.
And she's a big veterans benefits woman. There were a lot of VA people there, so I'm going to have to ask her about that.
I bet I know who you're talking about, and she has been a big fan of this.
We'll have to talk offline because I wonder if you do. You might just. Yeah, she's awesome. Yeah.
But you talk about this and you talk about rock bands and people, and it makes me think everyone has it. Think about just what was that, a month ago, 6 weeks ago? John Bon Jovi. He's shooting something with Warren Treaty, who we've done a PSA with about suicide prevention. He's on a bridge in Nashville, and he notices that there is a woman on the precipice of the bridge in a precarious position.
You're kidding me.
Instead of allowing the fear to take over and heading a different direction, he and a production assistant walk over. They start a conversation. And you can see that on closed circuit TV that's attached to the bridge across the conversation. This woman steps away from the edge. She's embraced in a hug by John Bon Jovi. And that is exactly what we're talking about here as being demonstrating the heart of suicide prevention. You never know where, you don't always know when, but those moments can come where you've got an opportunity to open the door, and yeah, you're afraid. Yeah, you're nervous, but you also have resources at your back like the Veterans Crisis Line during such times.
Imagine Dragons is another one. I don't know if
Yes,
you've
yes,
honestly, you know,
yes.
the from the lyrics to everything that they represent and do, you know, my own little ones, from the first time I had to broach it, you know, they'll hold things up. They give a speech during every concert, and you know, talking about the importance of being
Yeah,
here and staying here. I'll record it just to bring it home and show kids. I mean, I think
yeah.
it's fantastic as long as you have people out there that are passing that message along. And well,
Yeah, and know though, Jen, that there are people who look at you and see you in role model type ways. There's people who look at me and see me in that way. So when you and I talk openly about suicide, when we talk openly about mental health, when we talk openly about suicide prevention, it opens doors for people we may not even know are watching to be open to not waiting, and then reaching out for help. So there's power in the Metallica, in the Bon Jovi, in the Imagine Dragon examples, but there's also power in Jen and in Matt and in all of us coming together to make connections and talk about this.
well, I actually I hope that's true, but I do have to acknowledge and admit to you that a lot of people are probably right when I I am a little crazy, a lot crazy, and maybe it is just that you know they want to see me and smile and keep living, right? You know. But I do want to thank you very much for joining us today and spending so much time, um, sharing your insights and all that you do, for VA and for the veterans. And I hope that you will, come back and join us again, um,
Absolutely.
because you
Yeah, let's talk about that annual report when it comes out.